glad you're all here today. I think we may have a few more joining us, but we will go ahead and get started here. My name is Dede Moore. I'm your Canon for Diocesan Networking and Connections. I know a lot of you and some new faces, so want to welcome you all. We have a few other staff on with us today, and we may call on them for some questions. We'll see how that goes. And we have also with us, and one I want you to meet in particular is Matt Koski, who is here today, and he's providing tech for us on this meeting. He's also a very important person for you all to know as regards convention, because he leads on everything convention and alternate certification. So if you have questions in the next 2 weeks about that, Matt's your one to contact. So we're glad he's here with us today. First, a few housekeeping. When you're in a large group like this, it's best to keep yourself muted except when you're speaking. This cuts down on feedback, so would ask that you would do that. You can also change your view on your end. I don't know if, like me, you're right now seeing a grid of 5x5 little pictures. If you look up in the left-hand corner of your screen, there is something called speaker view. And what that does is you can switch to a smaller grid or to just seeing a picture of the person who's speaking. So if you haven't played around with that before, something that you might try playing around with, it will probably come in handy during the convention. And also, if you get a message that your internet is unstable, what that usually means, what it's meant for me, is that my internet connection is not quite strong enough. And one of the things you can do at that point, if it gets a bit wonky, is you can turn off your video, and sometimes that helps with bandwidth. And so just keep that in mind. And if you do have technical questions, if you notice down along the bottom, you can open something called chat. If you open chat, it will bring up like a gray box that says Zoom group chat. And down at the bottom of that box, there is a 2. It probably right now says everyone. If you click on the little down arrow, you'll also see that you can communicate directly with Matt. So if you have a technical issue while you are here about Zoom, feel free to go ahead and, okay, we'll have John stop sharing his screen. Good job on finding that, however. There we go. That is another thing you can do. Not something you want to do today, but if you are doing your own Zoom meetings, or if you are in a workshop or setting when you need to, that's where you find share your screen. So chat is available if you have any questions directly for Matt, if you're having any technical issues. We've got a lot to cover fairly quickly in this hour. I just want to let you know that I have notes that I will be making available. So if you're trying to scribble furiously, what we'll do, and we're also recording this. And so both the recording and my outline will be available. We'll send that out hopefully through the newsletter, the convention newsletter on Thursday. So take notes or don't take notes, we will get that to you. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple of polls. And this is a good trick to learn, and it's also something we'll be using at the convention. So in just a moment, I'm going to have Matt launch the first poll, and we'll give you about 30 seconds, and I'll show you how it's going to work. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and launch the first poll? Okay. You have 30 seconds to respond to this poll. Okay, let's see the results. Wow, we're pretty evenly split, aren't we? So we have about 34% have been to more than 10 conventions in the Diocese of Olympia. But we also have 16% who are at their first convention, and pretty much everywhere in between. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through this. Okay, Matt, why don't we go to the next poll? And again, you have 30 seconds to respond to this poll. And the poll is closed. Okay, mostly delegates and clergy. Perfect. This is a good group to have here. Alternates, it will be helpful as well. So that's great. Okay, so let's close this one. We're going to do one more poll. We're going to do this differently because there are 2 different ways you can do a poll. One is to give you a specific amount of time, which we will probably do during the convention. And depending on how complex the question is, it may be a little bit more than 30 seconds or a little bit less. But I believe also, Matt, you can tell when everybody has voted, correct? So what we're going to do this time is he's going to put up the poll, and we'll just see how long it takes to get everyone to respond, and then he will close the poll when everyone has voted. So let's go to the third poll. Okay, well, let's go ahead and close that poll and see where we are. Okay, thank you. That's also very helpful information, as that's going to be important as we have this convention. So we'll go ahead and close that poll. The polling that we'll be doing at the convention is based on polls just like this. The difference is, depending on your role, you may or may not receive the polls, except for a few introductory or practice polls. All of the rest of the polls will only be sent to voting members. That means voting clergy, delegates, and delegates at large. So as we get into the convention, if you're an alternate or a guest, you actually will not participate in the polls, because we need to know that only the people who are voting, are eligible to vote, are voting. Also important for those of you calling in, that works great for today. When we get to the convention, in order to vote, you will need to be on a device that is in Zoom that allows for the polls. So something to keep in mind. So if you've been following the convention newsletter, you already know this is going to look different. We're going to, one of the real things that we're trying, which I think we all know about Zoom, when you're at an in-person convention, an 8 to 10 hour day is tiring, but you can do it. Online, an 8 to 10 hour day is just not workable. So what we've done is we've broken the convention into 4 segments. And I am going to share my screen here. So hopefully you are all now seeing my screen. If you're not, let Matt know. But so on Friday morning, what we're going to do is we're going to begin with the bishop's address and a town hall, when you'll have a chance to ask questions of the bishop. Also during Friday morning, you're going to have the opportunity to attend workshops, to collect information from exhibitors and talk to exhibitors, to watch videos from ministries and organizations. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but the idea is, while we can't replicate the fellowship of an in-person convention and that feeling of being at a great big family reunion, we hope at least that having these opportunities first thing on Friday morning to connect with each other and to interact with each other will give us be a chance to renew friendships and make new friendships and just feel a bit connected. There's going to be a lot going on. A lot of these things are happening simultaneously, except for the bishop's address. So you're going to have a lot of options to choose from during Friday morning. Then on Friday afternoon, we have our actual business session, when we will be doing the business of the convention, elections and appointments, Constitution and Canons report, resolutions, a financial report, and some of the awards that normally happen during that time. As a note, the Resolutions and Nominations Committee are completing their work right now, and they're finalizing their reports, and we expect to have those out to you in the newsletter on Thursday, October 8th. So you'll see those very, very, very soon. The Saturday morning, we have a programmatic focus. We're going to have a presentation by our keynote speaker, the Reverend Dr. Bradley Hoff, who is the Missioner for Indigenous Ministries for the Episcopal Church. And we're also presenting a panel presentation with Q&A with our Ethnic Ministry Circles of Color. We had a meeting with this team earlier this week, and I think they're putting together what I believe is going to be an excellent program. And that will be the focus. Throughout Friday and Saturday morning, our time will be wrapped in worship, designed by our Liturgy and Arts Commission. And then we're going to close our time together with the Convention Eucharist, including ordinations, which will be a live stream from St. Mark's Cathedral. What that means is that throughout Friday and Saturday morning, you will need to be registered to attend the convention on the convention site. This Eucharist, however, you don't need to register for, and it's open to anyone. So we're going to be publicizing the link, and you're welcome to share the Convention Eucharist link with other members of your congregation and others who might like to attend. So that is an open event. Okay, that's section 1 on what the convention is going to look like. I know there's going to be questions. If you have a question, you can put it in chat. So if there are any specific questions about the agenda, I invite you to do that now. Otherwise, we will go on to our next section, which is looking at the platform. So just give a second if there are any questions about the actual agenda. Mary McKenzie, how long is each section? That's a good question. They're varying lengths, about 2 to 2.5 hours. The business session, we hope it's going to go from 1 to 4:30, but we also know that we need to complete the business of the convention. So if it takes a little longer, it will take a little longer. And then Saturday morning, again, is 2.5 hours, and the Eucharist usually averages about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay, we'll be talking about registration in just a few minutes. I know registration has been open, and a little bit later I'll have Matt share that link with you again if your congregation is not yet registered. Okay, our platform. So it's going to look very different this year. I think y'all have probably figured that out by now. What we're using is a hosted online platform. It's called Chime. It's through PSAB, who has been our vendors for a very long time, and we will, and so they're helping us out in getting this set up. And I've been able to get access to give us a quick sneak peek. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit because it doesn't yet have the updated terminology. So let me share this screen again, and this is the landing page that you'll see when you go to log into Chime, and I'll talk about logging in just a moment. You'll enter here your username and your password, which is a unique identifier that you'll receive a few days prior to convention. And then when you log in, you will see, this is what you will see here. This is the home page for our convention. And then the welcome page here is where you will find a video from the bishop welcoming you to convention. And along this left-hand side is where all the different tabs that I'm going to talk about will be. And this big red button up here in the right-hand corner is the live stream, which is the button that you'll click on to get into any of the plenary sessions, like the bishop's address or the business session. There'll also be an agenda which will be broken down where you can click on the latest updates. And so those will be linked as well. There will be one tab that will be for all the formal convention documents. And that's where you would find any of the documents like the resolutions report, constitution and canons, the different formal documents for the convention. There'll be an exhibit tab, which you'll find a list of all our exhibitors at this convention. And I'm sure a lot of you may be wondering, so what can you do with exhibits at a virtual convention? It's obviously not an in-person experience, but we do still hope that we can have interaction. And the ways we're doing that is when you click on the exhibit link, you will see basically almost like business cards for each individual exhibitor, which will give you their name, their website address, a little short description of their meeting, of their ministry, and there will be an email. So if you had a specific question, you might just send them an email. Another option is there'll be a networking tab where there will be the list of every person who is at our convention. And what we're going to do for exhibitors is we're going to change their first name to exhibitor. And so you'll be able to look under the E's and see a list of exhibitors where you can chat with them and say, hey, meet me for a chat. There's also a wonderful forum function that we're going to encourage exhibitors to go ahead and open a forum for their ministry, so that at any time, if you have a question or want to be part of a conversation with a particular organization or ministry, you will be able to go over to that forum and post a question or post a comment about a ministry, and then they'll be sort of tracking that and getting back to people and keeping that conversation going. So those are sort of the ways. In addition, many of them have done resources, PDF files, brochures that will be posted. And also we've encouraged them to do videos. And so those videos will also be posted. So you'll be able to watch those. The resources is where you would find the the documents, and those are provided not only by the exhibitors, but that's where you would find resources provided by workshop presenters, our keynote speaker, where you can go and you can download those as you need them and look at them. The presentations tab will be there, and that will be all videos and slideshows. And what we've done is we've asked anyone who at a live convention has presented a presentation to the plenary session. We've given them the opportunity to make a pre-recorded video, and we know that many of them are, as are the exhibitors. I believe that our keynote speaker is planning to post a 40-minute presentation that will be available for use after the convention that he has. And so as soon as the site is live the week of convention, you'll be able to go in and start looking at those videos once you have your unique identifier. Also, those videos will all stay on the event app and will be available to everyone for 30 days after the convention. So if you're doing this and you're doing this and you didn't have time, those videos will be there for you to watch, and also for you to share with other people, to download and share with others. So that's one of my most exciting ones, because we're getting some wonderful videos, and I think it's going to be great because they're not just a 5-minute presentation to the convention, but it's a real picture of the ministry and the organization that you'll be able to take with you. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a minute and take a breath and take a sip of my water and ask if there are any specific questions about the platform. And then we'll start looking at registration and a couple of other things. Okay. Wow, we're doing pretty good. I'm sure you'll think of questions for at the end. But I do want to talk a little bit more about registration. So when you log in with your unique identifier, this will complete your on-site registration. So your unique identifier replaces you having to walk up to a registrar and get your badge and get your voting materials, because that will all be done when you log in. So it's also it's important because of that if you have not, that you make sure that your congregation has completed your registration for you and that you are registered. What will happen is about 2 to 3 days before the convention, maybe a little more if we're ready to go live, you will receive an email direct from the convention app with your login, which should be your email, and your unique identifier. And so it's really important. Also, what we want to make sure of is that you don't share your login information with any other people. That's very important, particularly since your log on and you logging on to the convention site will help us to establish and confirm the quorum and the majorities for voting. Also, if you share if you are another household member and you decided to use the same logon, you're only going to have one vote, so that's not going to work. So you really, if you and another household member are both members of the convention, you need to be on 2 separate devices. That way, so that both of you can vote. Also, when that happens, you might want to make sure, like my husband and I, we have to be in separate rooms if we're at the same meeting. Not because we don't like each other, but because it leads to a lot of feedback. And so it's something that if you do have another member of your household who is also attending the convention in any role, make sure to check those things out ahead of time and figure out how you're going to do that and set things up so that you can both participate fully. You also need reliable internet access. And how do you define reliable internet access? What I would say is if you can watch videos on your internet, you probably have a reliable internet to be able to do our convention. If you can open 2 windows at once, that's something that's going to happen during the voting. You're going to be debating in one window and you're going to be voting in another window. So hopefully you need to make sure that your computer, that you have that enough internet to support that. And if you don't, what I would encourage you to do, first of all, is talk to your clergy person. Clergy who are on here, I've been saying this at the clergy calls, talk to your delegates and make sure that they're all set up and prepared to be attending the convention, and that they don't need some particular support, whether it's being in a place with a faster internet or something else that you may be able to support them to have that access. So very important to do that. Okay, certification. I mentioned that earlier. If you're an alternate, I know we have a few on here today. So if you are an alternate, and if you know already that you're going to be taking the place of one of your delegates, complete the alternate certification form now. Don't wait. If you're a clergy person and know you have a delegate who can't come, complete the form now. We do have a new form. I'm going to go ahead and have Matt put that out into the chat for you. He also has that obviously online. What we've done is, we know it's a little hard to do signatures in a virtual world. So this is a new form stack that the delegate can complete part of it and then send it to the clergy person who can sign it and then send it back. And then you send it on into Matt and you complete the certification. We will be able to do some, for lack of a better word, on-site certification on Friday morning, but it's a more complex process with the form, with needing your clergy signature, with getting the tech people on the app to remove this person and get certification to this person. So there might be a delay, which is why we will do it. If someone gets sick at the last minute, it can happen. We can certify an alternate as long as they're already on the list. No new names can be added, which is our standard even if we're at an in-person convention. But it can happen, but just encourage you, if you know that's going on, to take care of it ahead of time so that you're set and ready to go. We are working out on an orientation. Those of who are maybe first-time attendees, it's an important part of our convention when our members of our head table will sit down and go through with you like Robert's Rules of Order and the rules for our convention. That's still in the planning. It may happen the week of convention. It may happen on Friday morning during one of the workshop sessions. So we will get that information out to you as soon as we can. I want to remind, this is for delegates, the role of convention members. That's for clergy as well. So the role of convention members is to provide a link between the convention and the congregation. This is harder this year. It's also more important in a virtual year. What I encourage you to do, normally we would say check in with your vestry or bishop's committee, maybe set up a meeting. Harder to do now, but I would encourage you, particularly if you have a large delegation, but also if there are only 3 of you, to have a meeting before the convention. Set up a Zoom. Get yourselves together and talk about the things that are coming before the convention. Talk about the issues. You need to determine the congregation's position on issues and elections. There's a difference between delegates and deputies. Not sure if you all know that. When we elect for general convention, we elect deputies. We elect them for the person they are and for taking their views to the convention. Delegates are elected to represent directly a congregation. So when you are a delegate, it's good for you to have had the conversation with your congregation and your leadership and with each other to know where you stand. And a lot of that, I think those who have been around for a while will say that a lot of that happens at your table at convention. That's not a piece that's going to happen at your table this year. So one way to get to that is to go ahead and say, hey, I want to set up a Zoom meeting with my clergy and all my delegates and maybe even the alternates, maybe a couple members of the vestry or the bishop's committee if that's possible. And let's talk through all of these things that we're going to be looking at. The other thing you're going to see that are going to be different a little bit are voting and rules of order. I'm going to go back to my slides here real quick. So the voting, we're going to be using polls. They're simple majority for most things. Some things will be as simple as we did. Others may have a list asking you to vote for one for the elections. Others will be a simple yes or no. There's also going to be a few times when we have to vote by orders. Those who have been to our conventions know this, both for the standing committee and also for changes to our constitution and canons, we have to vote lay and clergy separately. and we will be doing that at this convention. Our platform text will send an identical poll. It'll go to lay voting and clergy voting, and then the results will come in, and we will have the majority in each order voting separately. There may also be a delay in the election votes as our leadership confirms, making sure we got the correct number of votes and did the math correctly. Another thing we're considering this year is a consent agenda. And what that is a meeting practice that groups routine business and actions into one vote. And we're looking at how we might use that to save some time so that we can focus the time of the convention to discuss the more important issues, particularly around our resolutions. It would appear as part of our opening business on Friday afternoon, excuse me, and the bishop would ask if any member wants to remove an item from the consent agenda, which is how it works. And if any member requests that the item be moved, it is moved. And any reason is sufficient to move an item. A member might move an item because they want to discuss it, they want to ask a question, or even if they want to vote against it so that they can have an actual vote. So all the items that remain on the consent items then would be read out loud by the bishop or the secretary, and then the bishop would move them, and with no objection, he can announce that the consent items have been adopted. So we're looking at that, and we'll get back to you with more details, but it's really another time savings that we want to try, okay? We're also looking at some rules of order for a virtual meeting, using examples from other dioceses and suggestions from Robert's Rules of Order. They'll be sent in advance, and they would be adopted by the convention. So, and in addition, you'll see in the Constitution and Canons Committee report that we're adopting some of these changes going forward, so that, because we believe that virtual and hybrid meetings aren't going away anytime soon. They're here to stay. And I know a few of you have already inquired about virtual annual meetings and the rules for those. And we hope that out of developing the rules of order for our convention, we will also be able to then provide congregations rules of order for the for virtual annual meetings, which will come up. That's my list. That's a lot of information. So now it's time for questions and clarifications, and I'm gonna look here. The keynote speaker, as I mentioned, his name, it's the Reverend Bradley Huff. He is the Indigenous Missioner for the Episcopal Church, and we'll be sending out more information when we have that. Will you be sending out a visual of the welcome page that shows all of the tabs and what's inside? We will. What's even better is the goal is to make the event app live prior to the Friday of convention so that you can actually go into the actual app and click on the links yourself to see what is there. There may still be a few edits that happen that final week, but that is the goal, is to have it up at least a couple of days before convention so that you have time to familiarize yourself and to see some of the information that's already there and start looking at the videos and the resources. Do we have to stay signed in the whole time? It's my understanding that you do not. So if you need to leave, and then you need to make sure you keep your unique identifier, because each time you come back and want to rejoin the convention app, you will need to log in. Let's see. When will resolutions and convention documents that might need pre-convention discussion be available? Like I mentioned, we hope the resolutions committee is actually meeting right now, I believe, almost literally right now, to finalize the last of their work. And our goal is that the resolutions and nominations both will be out as reports and with links on Thursday, the 8th, this coming Thursday, through the convention newsletter. And we also immediately post everything online. And for nominations, that also includes, we requested, as last year we did, for nominees to send in a short cell phone video. And all of those are now also posted on Vimeo. And so you'll get the link to that so that you can go in and watch the cell phone videos as well as read the report of the nominations committee. Let's see, should alternates register even if all delegates are expected to attend? I would say yes, if you plan to attend, because alternates and guests are welcome to attend. There is a registration category for that. Again, if you're an alternate, you should check with your congregation, because sometimes a congregation will register everyone, alternates and delegates. Other times they wait for you to decide, or if you're an alternate, you may need to register yourself. The reason to register is that if you don't register, you will not receive a login and a unique identifier. That's why if you look at the registration form, there's even a registration category this year for the Office of the Bishop Staff, because we all as well need to remember to register so that we get our unique identifier and our login information so that we can participate in the convention. So if the only thing you want to attend is the Eucharist on Saturday afternoon, like I said, you do not need to register. That'll be an open link on a live stream available to everyone. If you want to come into the convention app to look at exhibits or resources or to listen to the bishop's address, then you do need to register to receive your login credentials. Thanks, Josh. I understand that anyone can register and lurk if they're willing to pay it's actually $6.50. What's the process? There's a guest registration category. So you would have them register as guests. And that way they could not only lurk and watch, but they could also visit the exhibits, go to workshops, and anything else that they would like to do as well, and would be welcome to do that. Any other questions? Oh, let's see, here we go. I've been referring to an app. Is this something we will need to download? No, it's actually a website, and that's the one that I was showing you. When you get the link, it will take you will receive both a link and your unique identifier. And when you click on the link, it will take you to that homepage that I showed you, where it asks you to put in your email and your unique identifier. So that will take you directly to it. And it works on pretty much any device, whether you're on a tablet, a desktop. It may look slightly different. It can even be on a phone, a smartphone. So any device, you will just click on it. However you normally have been doing this sort of work and Zoom meetings, you will just use that link to get to it. Can we pick out our own unique identifier? Nope. It's standard because it is machine generated. I wrote the beginning and then it's random numerals for the second half. So it will be what you get. So no choice on that. Okay. Is the Saturday liturgy on Zoom or Chime? The Saturday liturgy is actually a live stream, and it is a cathedral live stream. They have been doing them all along. Do I have a staff on here who may be able to say a bit more? Ariane, do you know? Can you describe that a little better than me?
So there's two parts. There's the liturgies during convention, which some of that I think has been pre-taped and some of that will be happening live. And then there will also be the live stream from the cathedral. And so we're going to observe protocols, and the production is probably going to look a lot like our ordinations a couple months ago. So if you had a chance to see that, my hunch is we're going to be using that as a template. Is that the question? Did I answer? Is there more?
Sort of. It's their live stream. Basically,
yes.
St. Mark's Cathedral has a live stream. They've been doing live streams on Sundays. They've been doing the ordination services, the diocesan ordination services. And so it is their live stream, and they have the link that you click on to join that live stream, and it's open. It's an open link to anyone.
You can just get on the St. Mark's website.
Yes, I don't know if it's on YouTube actually, Josh. I think that they might have switched vendors, but I know you can get on the website from, just go to St. Mark's website, go to streaming services, and they have a list of previous liturgies, and they'll put that up right for us.
Yeah, and we will also publish that link several times as soon as we have it available. Most definitely in the last week of the convention, when we send out the last newsletters, we will make sure to flag that, and probably Josh Hornbeck, our communications director, will also be sending that out through all the normal, because it is an open Eucharist. It will go out during all of the normal, through all the normal channels, probably in across the diocese, and it'll be on our website, and we'll definitely make that link known for the live stream. Okay. Anything else? Do I have any other comments? I see that I've got both our chancellor and our vice chancellor on here, which is great. Anything that you would add to anything that I said that would clarify? What I would say is keep watching the convention newsletter. That comes out every Thursday at 3 p.m. and it includes whatever new information we have. And we also, if you don't have it flagged, you could flag the convention page on the diocesan website. I think, Matt, you were going to throw that one up in chat too, were you not? Or was it registration? Okay. He does have for us that Matt will put in chat is the registration link. So if you were asking, how do I register as an individual, and your congregation is not registering you, then why don't we go ahead and put the registration link in chat, and that's where you would go to check in on that. Other than that, I'm happy if there are any other questions, but other than that, I think we've covered all the basic information, and I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a new experience to be together in a very different way with a lot of people. And I hope that you'll all take advantage of all of the different opportunities to connect with exhibits and to take some of the workshops and find those smaller spaces. While we can't all be on the screen together and see each other when we've got 550 of us in a plenary session, when you're in a workshop, you'll be on it. It'll look more like this. You'll be on a Zoom screen where you'll be able to talk to people, and you'll have the chance to do that in the workshops and to be with each other in smaller groups. And I hope you'll take advantage of that. So unless there are any last questions, I will say goodbye, and I will look forward to seeing you all at convention. Thank you.